Hi everyone, welcome to my series of chess lectures. This is Rajashekhar Bhagavatala from Marvel Chess Academy. In the previous lecture, we have learned about rook moves. In this lecture, we are going to look at the bishop moves. The bishop moves in a slanting line known as diagonals. Its path looks like a letter X. A diagonal is represented by the coordinates b1, h7. This is known as b1 h7 diagonal, and this one is known as h1 a8 diagonal. So the bishop moves in a diagonal. Let's look at a different position. Please feel free to pause the video and write down all the squares where this bishop can move. I hope you have paused the video. The bishop can move along the a2 g8 diagonal and f1 a6 diagonal. If you have written all the squares on a2 g8 diagonal and f1 a6 diagonal, you got it right. Try the next one, please. Yes. So this bishop can move on a1 to h8 diagonal and g1 to a7 diagonal. Please pause the video and try to write the notations of the squares where this bishop can move. This bishop can move along a5 d8 diagonal and d8 h4 diagonal. I hope you understood the bishop moves. Let's try the bishop captures. The bishop can capture the pawn diagonally on c2. Bishop takes c2. In this puzzle, we have to capture a pawn in every move. Note that the black pawns are not going to make a move. They are going to stay where they are. So you have to capture a black pawn in every move. Please plan your moves ahead. Yes, the first move is bishop takes e3 and then bishop takes h6. Can you try this problem? Yes. First move can be bishop takes g2 and then bishop takes b7. It is also possible to take bishop takes b7 first and then bishop takes g2. In this puzzle, we have to capture the pawns like in the previous videos. Please pause the video, plan your moves, and write down the notations. Yes, I hope you have paused the video and came up with the solution. The first move is bishop takes c7, bishop takes a5, and bishop takes d2. Let's try another puzzle. This one is a little tricky compared to the previous ones. Please pause the video and write down your notations. I hope you have paused the video. The solution to the problem is bishop takes a2, bishop takes e6, bishop takes g4, and then bishop takes e2. So it is important to note to go back first and then take the e6 pawn, because if you take bishop takes e6 first, bishop takes g4, bishop takes e2, and there is no way to capture this pawn along this diagonal. Okay. If we go to bishop takes e6 first and then bishop takes a2, then we are left with two pawns which cannot be captured over the a2 g8 diagonal or a2 b1 diagonal. So the correct answer is bishop takes a2, bishop takes e6, bishop takes g4, and bishop takes e2. So we know that the planning of moves is a little important before we start moving the pieces. Let's move on to the next puzzle. Please pause the video, plan your moves ahead, and write down your solution. I hope you have got your solution. The first move would be bishop takes g7, bishop takes d4. Now comes the decision making point. The first move that we should capture is bishop takes f2, and then bishop takes b6, bishop takes a5, and bishop takes d2. Let's move on to the next puzzle. Now we have two bishops. The interesting thing to note about the bishops is the bishop can only move on the diagonal or the squares in which it is currently placed. The bishop on b1 can only move along the light squares. It can never move along the dark squares. So is the bishop on g1. It can only move along the dark squares, but it cannot move along light squares. So we use both the bishops to capture all the pawns on the d file and the e file. Please pause the video and write down your answers. I hope you have got your answers. The first move is bishop takes e4, bishop takes d5, and bishop takes e6. Now that we have captured all the light square pawns with our light square bishop, now it's time for the dark square pawns. Bishop takes d4, bishop takes e5, and bishop takes d6. Let's move on to the next one. I hope you have paused the video and come up with the solution. Yes. So let's start first. We can start with the light square bishop. Bishop takes d3, bishop takes f5, bishop takes d7, and bishop takes b5. Now that we have captured all the pawns on light square, it is time for moving the dark square bishop. Bishop takes e3, bishop takes d2, bishop takes h6, and bishop takes g7. This concludes the bishop moves and captures. I hope this lesson has introduced how the bishop moves and how it captures on the chessboard. Thank you.